It's a warning from the man, you hear me, on the internet, you scammers. This is a slammer tongue. I'm sorry, this is a bad Becky Lynch impression, but you get it. We'll get into all of this, plus a whole lot more on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. AEW launching a new TV show on TBS. What is the inside information that we're not supposed to know about that we suddenly know about? The location of the 2023 Royal Rumble, tip of the cap to Andrew Zarian. We're talking about that. And Dexter Lumis, some details about his unfortunate WWE NXT release, and Randy Orton. Could we be learning under the tree of the Viper? The old wise Viper? It just seems weird to say that. We'll get into all of it on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. You share the link of you stink.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Hey, watch.
Out.
Watch out.
Watch out. Watch out.
Watch out. We went death metal there at the end. I like it. Kev Callum, Jeremy Bennett in Nebraska. If you ask Jose G here as well. A lot of people joining us for the first time. If you haven't done so, here we go in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Hit the like button. There you go. Lots to talk about. Becky Lynch, big news with her. The location of the Royal Rumble in 2023. Randy Orton's possible future beyond an in-ring career. What could that be? And a whole lot more. That new AEW TV show. We'll get to that in minutes. What do you think that TV show is going to be? Jump in the comments. We'll talk about it here. If you're here for the first time, shout out where you guys are watching from. What up, James Scott, NYC in the house? What up, Tony Paul? What up, Dave? What up, Marlo? Appreciate it. If you're here for the first time, don't make it the last time. Turn your notifications on, especially if you're with this on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, thank you to the 29,000 plus for subscribing as well. Turn your notifications on. Let's get right into it. Warnings from Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch putting out a big warning to fans about online scammers. This is something that happened with Liv Morgan a few months ago. And this is something that's been going on across the board for any type of entertainer or influencer. There's just, people that want to take advantage of anyone they possibly can on the internet to make a buck and steal. And it's pretty ridiculous. What's the latest on this, guys?
Yeah, it looks like a lot of people, I guess, did come to Becky and kind of made this to the forefront. So she sent out a tweet just before Raw went on the air last night, just saying it should go without saying, but I or any other WWE superstar would never, ever message anyone looking for money or gift cards. Please, if anyone ever messages you pretending to be me, asking for money or anything else, immediately block and report. The amount of times I've heard of this happening is sickening.
Mm-hmm. If anyone's watching and you've dealt with this, please let us know. Please let us know, because I know this is something that's happened infrequently, and you have a lot of scam accounts that are just online.
Look at their account name. Look at their account name. If it's got like their name and like a bunch of numbers after it, or look at the number. Look at the number of followers they have. If they have 12 followers, come on, it ain't Becky Lynch.
Here's the thing: the blue check mark should just give it away. Like I really feel like there's a lot of people that are naive, bless their hearts, but you really, if you're on social media. All right, you're going to be more prone for these things to happen. You need to look out for the blue check mark. Blue check mark means that person is verified. It is a verified account. You are contacting them or someone very close to them that will have direct contact with you. But this is a very unfortunate situation for a lot of people that this has happened. I know that Liv Morgan had a situation where this has happened to her. And Becky Lynch is now taking the time to warn everyone. This is very serious. I think was it Liv Morgan where the fan sold his house or something like that in order to get some type of memorabilia. I don't know the entire story, but I know that his house was involved. Like if you get to the point where you're taking out a second mortgage or selling your house, something's wrong. Yeah. Come on.
I don't know how many times Anna J or Cora Jade have followed me on Instagram this week, but I've had about 80 of them. It's insane. It's insane how many fake female WWE superstar accounts are created. I get followed by them all the damn time on Instagram. It's ridiculous.
Well, I got Donna who's watching right now. Donna's watching and saying that she's had people pretending to be Orton, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns trying to contact her the same way. So I guess this is sadly an unfortunate widespread thing here.
Yeah. Look at the account name, look at the followers, look at the check mark.
Yeah, and someone saying someone saw they saw my account with a blue check mark. Yes, I do have a verified Twitter account, saying that I didn't follow them.
Kevin really is asking for money. He is.
No, I'm not asking for money. Do I need
it's not a scam. He needs bear money. He needs bear money.
I need the money.
I need money to fly back home. I need money to take some money out of a Nigerian bank account.
Yes. I mean, yes, exactly.
Terrible.
People getting contacted over Messenger. Just be aware of it. And it's the main reason why we led with this story too, because it would be if this is something where somebody's like, oh yeah, that's happened to me, you know. Troy said,
and the thing is that it's happening more and more frequently. So I just want everyone that watches this show, that listens to the show, or even that's just involved in the internet wrestling community, be aware. Look for that blue check mark. I mean, guys, do not be naive. Anybody can be anybody on the internet. Look for that blue check mark. Look for the followers, and make sure it is an official person or an official account.
They also ask for your phone number and other information. So yeah, just be aware of it for sure. This is definitely an interesting situation. Something that is also intriguing is the future of All Elite Wrestling. There was some concern, some serious concern, and worthy some. Would it All Elite be in the same type of situation that WCW was in its final days, where a big merger between WCW and another their parent television company with another company forces WCW out of the picture? Could that happen to All Elite Wrestling? It's not owned by Warner Media. It has a partnership with them. And Discovery and Warner Media just did a big merger. This affected many other things within Warner Media, including the end of a very failed streaming service by CNN Plus and the future of DC Cinematic Universe movies. A lot of different things are being impacted by it that are much larger scale financially than All Elite Wrestling. That's not a shot at AEW. That's the way it is, guys. So they're up for a television renewal in 2024 and within the next year and a half here. So what's going on with them? There's talk months ago and under the last deal they had to produce reality TV shows, kind of secondary supplementary television shows. They did one season of Road to the Top. They were confirmed to do another season of it, though it wasn't like a barn-burning show, but it was cost-effective and cheap to make. So what's going on here? Are we getting more from them? There is some news coming out from Fightful Select with a list of names of a potential new show, and we will go down those lists here. I'll pitch you guys for that. They have filmed content, sizzle reels, tryout shows, kind of for Warner Media to see if they want to try and do some type of secondary show. Darby Allin, we've known for months, filmed something. How far down the pike it is. Other people have also filmed stuff, including Britt Baker, Swerve Strickland, and Adam Cole. What is that name of list of shows, though? Because the list of names kind of could be indicative of what this show could be. And it's supposed to be some type of reality television program.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of shows that there's a lot of names that have been thrown around. Fightful Select's actually reporting that they've gained word that several readers that they've received an email from ringleaders claiming that a new AEW show is on the way. And the email reads, quote, "A new AEW show is coming to TBS. We want to know what you think of this new show should be named in the survey below." Some of the names are included: To the Top, Fight to the Finish, All Access, Breakout, Uprise, The Climb, To the Mat, Road to the Belt, Friends and Enemies, Grit and Glory. Now, none of these names have been confirmed by AEW, but again, the survey just claims that this is going to be a new show that in ringleaders, that it is property of Warner Media, is saying that's going to be coming out. So these are just some of the names that have been floating around in the surveys.
Yeah, if you're worried about this merger affecting AEW, this is some pretty good proof that it's not, as Warner Media is actively looking for participation in a survey for a third show on their Warner networks. So I think this is a pretty good indication that AEW is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Some people in the chat saying AEW needs a new show. Rampage isn't very good. Talk to me what week you're talking about that here. Other people saying, talking about how this affects the WWE television contract. Yes, WWE does have a television contract coming up somewhat around the same time. I don't know if it's exactly the same time. I do think both companies will get a new TV deal. Whether or not they're in the same place, I don't know. But they draw a hard rating for the most part, unlike this past week where all the wrestling shows are getting smashed by the NBA playoffs, the NFL draft, and the NHL playoffs at the same time.
And the NBA is pulling about $3.5 million this year.
Yeah, and then you got all this realignment. You brought up Rampage. Rampage is going to be at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern on Friday, so that it doesn't run into the NBA playoffs. Oof, you're going to get hurt there.
It's like Rampage is a good show. It's a well-paced hour show. It just doesn't screw around. It gets to the point.
That's what I do like. That's one thing that I do appreciate about Rampage when I am watching it.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of promos. You start off immediately with a match. Then you go vignette, promo, match. One tiny vignette, one tiny promo. Here's the main event. Close out match. You're done.
Boom. It's time for the main event.
It goes by and it's great. And I actually almost prefer watching Rampage over Dynamite for that reason.
They don't screw around. There's no entrances for the opening match. They basically do all that in between when they film Dynamite and Rampage when it's not live, when Rampage is not live. But yeah, I don't know. It's a terrible time slot though. I mean, I don't know what, I think they just need to get away from Friday, but I don't know where you go from there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it could also help if they get replays on TV. But whatever this new show is, AEW needs it. They need a show that is not just strictly wrestling. They need something that develops just the brand as a fun place to be. Speaking of something that is well branded, one of the biggest events on the annual wrestling calendar, you talk WrestleMania, you talk SummerSlam, and you're talking Royal Rumble. What is the location of the 2023 Royal Rumble? They're going big once again. What's the full story?
Fightful has learned that the current leader for this is going to be the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. The Royal Rumble appeared there in 2017 as well as 1997. Nothing is official yet until everything is officially announced, but that is currently the leader. The company has run the Royal Rumble at domes and stadiums every year since 2019, which I believe that was the year I attended in Phoenix, if that was right. And the Alamo Dome, of course, is the first dome that the Royal Rumble has ever ran at, which they did in the just about the start of the Attitude Era there. Andrew Zarian of Matman Radio noted that WWE is recently planning on running more dome shows per year than ever, which lines up with Nick Khan's vision that they've heard from WWE sources. So not necessarily stadiums, but maybe more domes, which obviously, you don't have to factor in the weather at all. And you can do it at any time of year. You can do a stadium show at any time of year, January or August. You can run it. It's going to be climate controlled. So the Alamo Dome's a good scene. It was pretty cool to see for the first time in the late 90s. So I
feel like those type of shows brings a completely different vibe especially to the Royal Rumble. Like, for example, which was the Royal Rumble that was the baseball field? Like, and all these Royal Rumbles recently have been done in baseball fields or those domes.
Yeah, 19 was at baseball stadium in Arizona.
Yeah, so and the Astrodome's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah,
or the Alamo Dome. The
Alamo Dome is more for basketball.
Okay, gotcha.
The Astrodome is obviously the baseball stadium. They did Minute Maid Park, I think, in 20. Which was like one of the last main shows before one of the last big shows before the pandemic hit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely bring a different feel to. Sorry to cut you.
No, it's okay.
It brings a different feel. So I think that's a good choice if that is going to be the location.
It's a good choice as well because you're going to get people coming up from Mexico for that as well. And if you're not going to go south of the border, this is a way to do some of that regionally. We've seen that when WWE does stuff in New York, or they do something in a big travel hub. And this also plays into everything post-pandemic with WWE, where they want to double down on the quarterly events and play stadiums. I'm fine with it. It's a spectacle. It's a big show. Make a weekend out of it. Make it a destination. And the trickle down, the Reaganomics of it are very good for independent wrestling. The Reaganomics of it are very good for an Impact, a Ring of Honor. If AEW wants to roll Ring of Honor out in that town, that's where they would do it. It makes complete sense. I think it's the ideal thing for WWE to do these as big as they possibly can. Them doing this internationally, I think, is great. This Clash of the Clash of the Castle show that's going to be coming up in Cardiff is really, really cool. I want to see more of those. If you're going to be big, go big. Like it makes these shows feel more than more than just a normal pay-per-view and more than just another television show too. There has to be a spectacle about it, you know?
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was Meltzer that said it or what, but I mean, you have a 50,000 seat stadium and you still sell 25,000 tickets. That's a lot more revenue than you would make it than a smaller arena.
And you can frame the building, and you can frame. I saw this at the Royal Rumble. You don't have to use the whole building. You know, and the thing is, like with this,
we saw it at Mania, and we saw it at SummerSlam.
I was at Royal Rumble. They used 2/3 of the building, and there's a third of the building they just curtained off, and you didn't see it, and it didn't really affect the show at all, and you didn't feel like you were in an empty building. You know, everyone says that, like you were in a stadium. No, you know, I mean, there was 75,000 plus people at every night of WrestleMania 2 nights in a row. It's a lot of people, guys. No one else is running it at that scale. So when people say they didn't sell their ticket, come on. You're reaching here. This is WWE. They have a marketing muscle behind them that
you went John Madden there for a minute.
You see this? You gotta get in the bus. I don't want to fly in a plane.
Brett Favre.
Let's get into the story here with Dexter Lumis. He's one of the unfortunate names released from WWE this past week. Was in the system for quite some time and seemed like he was bound for some big stuff there. Then, like unfortunate people, he got lost in the shuffle. Apparently, it wasn't the original plan for him to be released. What is the detail here?
Brian Alvarez from the Wrestling Observer noted that he was handed a list of 10 superstars ahead of time, and on that list, 9 of those 10 got cut. Dexter was not on that list. He says he's not divulging who was on that list that didn't get cut, but I'm sure it might rhyme with Roderick Strong. But yeah, he got the list ahead of time and it was 90% correct. So pretty interesting that he was able to get a heads up on that. But yeah, I'm guessing that other one had to have been Roddy Strong.
It almost comes by default, right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
It's like Roderick Strong, and do they reunite with Undisputed Elite over at AEW, or do we just release Dexter Lumis and keep Roderick Strong so they don't get that whole reunion?
And if they went kind of 50-50 on budget cuts plus performance, I'm guessing Lumis and Strong probably are making a little similar amounts. I'm sure Strong's probably making a little bit more, but they've been both on that NXT roster for some time now, so they have a little bit of tenure.
Yeah, I can see with Dexter, his television experience. He had a run in NXT as Samuel Shaw before an Impact before he was in NXT. He was strong in the independents between too, by the way. And also that guy was nearly signed by All Elite Wrestling. He was one of those guys that they wanted. That was like an outside factor type guy. It would not surprise me if I saw him in AEW just because of his experience. He knows how to frame things to character. He knows how to do a very out there character. And AEW is now in a position where they need characters. They have a lot of great wrestlers. They need characters that
you imagine him in there with Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. That would just
be great,
hilarious.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun. He's one of those guys too. If he's young enough, where I could see him in WWE again too at some point.
Very creepy, very evil.
Yeah,
and just to kind of give everyone an update on Dexter Lumis, he is already booked for a couple of shows after being released.
Good
He's
on
booked
him.
Locally in Florida at the USA Pro Wrestling. That's going to be in May. Sometime in June. And then right after that, he is also booked with Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling, ARW down here in Florida as well. So he's already booked 2 shows, man.
That's the beauty of NXT. You only have the 30-day non-compete, so you can get to work right away.
And I think that's a little bit more compassionate to the performer, if they want to get back out there.
Well, especially with the model that they're doing, if they're given only 90 days to improve, plus you got a lot of the veterans that are on the chopping block because of the switch. Somehow, Lumis was able to kind of make that switch from black and gold to 2.0 and succeed. And he was on TV every week. It still didn't do him any good, but I think
also worth noting they get paid. They get paid during that 30-day period, So that when people hear the lease, they just let him go. It's like
David's got a good point there. I wouldn't be surprised the way the indies are nowadays. Would not be surprised if he makes
he
more.
can set his rate too. I mean, he's got that exposure. He's had a really good angle with Indy, and then later on with Persia and Duke. And I think that people love. He's a beloved character. People like him.
He did the cinematic thing with Cameron
absolutely.
Grimes. So.
Oh yeah. So the guy already has a high profile. People know him. He is a beloved character, and promoters will pay him money to be at his shows. I'm sure they dished out some good money to get him on those 2 shows that he's booked on.
The list of NXT talent that was released and the unfortunate names that people are talking about in All Elite Wrestling that are due to be released or due to be passed on for renewal, right? They want to stay away from that word release. That was the talk of the independent wrestling world. I'm in it. I'm working in it, and as kind of like a secondary broadcast talent. So that was talked about. There are a lot of people that were talking about that this past weekend. That's about all I can say. Here's a question though, before we move on to the next topic, kind of related to Dexter Lumis. On television, he was part of a very, very fun romantic comedy angle. One of my favorite romance comedy angles in wrestling. One of my favorite wrestling couples was Index. I love this. This was one of the best things they did with The Way, with Johnny,
Sexy Dexy,
and Candice, and they did not want Indy Hartwell, their wrestling daughter, to date that weirdo, that mute weirdo. And Chris Aldridge here saying, "What does Indy Hartwell do now?"
I guarantee you, they just act like nothing happened. They forget about it. She disappears for a month.
I hate that. I
guarantee you that's exactly the way they're going to go.
That is
unless they have one way they can go. Haha, pun intended. They insinuated that she dated Duke Hudson. So maybe they could put them together, but my gut feeling is they just forget it ever happened, so you don't remember that people got released.
So maybe they do actually end up putting Indy and Dex in some type of an angle, but you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things, and that's really unlikely in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they want to get her. I think they want to get it out of people's minds that people got released. So they're just going to forget it even happened and then start over from scratch.
Like the last time. It's just like the last time, or even just like what happened with Wesley and MSK, right?
Yeah,
the other guy got. Nash Carter got fired. He got released, and it just continued like it was nothing.
Yeah, so. At least he kind of got to acknowledge it a little bit on that great vignette they did last week. Yeah. But my gut feeling is they're going to act like nothing happened, and they're going to have completely different character arcs going forward.
Yeah, she's talented. She's proved some things.
Now, what do you do with the Diamond Mine? You still have 4 guys together with no manager now.
We'll find out tonight at Spring Breaking.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you really can't ignore. Where I think they could ignore the.
They just really dropped the ball on the whole Diamond Mine thing from the get. Yeah. I mean, you had a roster of tremendous talent. When you have a guy like Arturo Huras on your team, that's a guy you want on your team, especially if you're going to be selling this MMA angle.
And I like coach. I like the coach thing with Hatcheman too. I thought that was
absolutely. Yeah. And what I loved about Hatcheman, right, that the Hatcheman was like the most calm dude outside. So if he's
like Arn Anderson
outside,
Anderson
if he's
with
like
Cody.
The most calm dude outside, imagine what he can do in the ring, and we never got to see that. So yeah, man, they just dropped the ball on Diamond Mine from the very get.
And it would have been cool to see Roddy and Marina Shafir work together too, which we may see that happen in AEW down the line. Who knows? But I mean, geez, the Creed brothers are talented as hell. Hell, maybe the Creed brothers get called up before we know it because they're talented. They're big guys. Vince is gonna love them. The Diamond Mine just might dissipate before we know it because Roddy they might let Roddy go next cut.
I don't think so.
Poor Ivy.
I don't think they want him going there until the end of his deal.
I think they're gonna break up Diamond Mine too. I think they call it.
I don't think. Yeah.
Ivy now goes her own way.
Yeah, the last thing WWE wants at this moment in time is to have the Undisputed Era fully reunited at AEW.
I mentioned this on a show last night, though. That's not really going to move the needle, and all of a sudden AEW is going to have 1.5 million viewers. So it's not going to affect WWE that much to let him go over there, to be honest with you. It isn't going to...
No, I agree with you, Jeremy. It wouldn't, but if that's a talented guy that they want to keep, who can do things that other people in NXT can't do, and he can make people that he's in the ring better with, and he can. I can tell you there are people that have been in the ring with him who tell me they're a better wrestler because they have matches with Roderick Strong. they can frame things to camera better. You have to learn that. That is not a skill that is acquired.
Don't besmirch the name of Cheeseburger. That dude's awesome. If you ever watched Ring of Honor,
I watched Dark last night. A dude named Cheeseburger, Ring of Honor veteran, came out. The crowd love him. He might be on NXT next month.
Cheeseburger's awesome. If you've never seen Cheeseburger perform, he is awesome, and he's like 110 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, the big CB. Let's get into this Randy Orton story here. This is pretty interesting. Randy Orton celebrating 20 years in WWE this past week. I liked that WWE made it a big deal and built some things around it. He is involved in the main event match for this weekend's WrestleMania Backlash. A 6-man tag match. Should have been a title unification match.
All right.
But that aside, Randy Orton speaking about life after an in-ring career. He said he has been adamant in saying he's going to do this for a considerable longer period of time in his 40s with injuries and all these different things, but he looks great. He's moving great. There's nothing about him in the ring that makes you think he's going to slow down anytime soon. And who knows, maybe he's got another big singles title run and he'll break that Ric Flair record, right? But he opened up recently about possibly coaching at the WWE Performance Center. This would be interesting. I think he's a guy who is definitely given wisdom to a lot of people and brought a lot of people up with him, despite all those reported transgressions outside of the ring.
Yeah, man. So Randy Orton recently had a conversation interview with Give Me Sport, and he commented on the possibility of being a coach once his in-ring career is over by saying, quote, he said, I don't really think I'd be a good coach because I would just start off to just ramble. It's almost like I don't know how to articulate myself into a group of green guys that are coming into the business that need to learn the basics. If there was 3, 4, or 5 guys, a small group, if we could go and talk and sit in the ring, if it could be like close quarters or just a small group of people where we're not doing drills and stuff like that, but just talking and maybe watching tape, I think I'd be good in that aspect. So pretty much he's saying he doesn't want to deal with like a big classroom. He just wants a select few of guys, gals that, he think he, might have good potential. And that way he could, portray his message and give the coaching that he needs, as opposed to dealing with 25, 30, 40 students at the same time. So I think that's a better way to approach it, especially with someone that's been in the business for such a long time. When you have such a smaller group, you have time to soak that information, whereas opposed to when you have a bigger group, there's so many people asking questions and everything just kind of gets lost in the mix. So very interesting response by Randy Orton.
Yeah, and I think they do kind of still do that sort of stuff at the Performance Center. I don't think it's all just big groups. They do break it off and do certain things. So, but it is probably something that he probably wouldn't be doing full time. But I'm sure he'll probably pop in now and again during the later stages of his career. Just saw this for Sportscada tonight. Unscripted with Dr. Chris Featherstone. Lisa Marie Varon is going to be on.
Yes, formerly known as Victoria, formerly known as Tara in TNA. Absolutely one of the best female pro wrestlers of all time. So this is a pretty big episode of Unfiltered. You're not going to want to miss that. You can get your questions on screen for her or watch it on demand.
I heard there's a rumor that Liv Morgan is trying to get her song licensed to use. Again,
I've heard that as well.
Tattoo, is that the name of the group?
Tattoo.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
yeah. If you watch Victoria on Peacock, they got the old generic version because they don't have the license for it anymore.
Yeah, that's rough though. Give those licenses songs.
I hate when you get the old.
It is what it is though. You know what I mean? You can't if you can't pay for it, you can't get it. So, and you don't want to get rid of the entrance either. That unscripted episode, we have those every single Tuesday on the channel. Every Monday night, we have Vince Russo covering Monday Night Raw. That episode is up right now. Dutch Mantel on Friday nights after SmackDown and Rampage. And, of course, exclusive interviews. We have a fresh one up with Deonna Purrazzo, which is pretty sweet.
Minor breaking news.
This is are we talking about this AEW video game? You got that right?
Yeah, it has been announced that Owen Hart will be a playable character in AEW Fight Forever.
That's awesome.
That makes sense with the Owen Hart tournament. Every prominent WWE name that they have in AEW will be in the video game too.
This was the news. Casty Haynes was teasing this afternoon.
Yeah, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Ruby Soho are also expected to be in the game. Kenny Omega, who's been on the shelf, has gone, quote, above and beyond to make this game as possible, and he's deeply involved with it. Mikey Ruckus, who produces a lot of music and entrance
tremendous music,
is also involved with this as well. They've heard that THQ Nordic is possibly involved in the production of the game, and they're adding supplementary things. At this point, you're in the final stretch, so most of the game at this point is pretty much done. I know, Jeremy, you're deeply involved. You worked with EA Sports for quite some time. At what point is a game like this in production? If we're getting it at some point in the fall, where are they at? What would be something that's going on in a video game right now?
They got to be very close to beta if we're going on a September release. Like, beta is going to be got to be into June. If we're into June, early July, if we're going September release.
And once you start doing beta, we're going to start seeing some footage. We're going to start
seeing
some
card game. So they should be in alpha by now, I would assume, and beta coming pretty soon. And then who knows? In beta, sometimes in beta you can have a demo. So I don't know if they're going to give out a demo, but that'd be pretty cool. First time Owen Hart's been in a video game since 2004. Indie game called Showdown Legends of Wrestling.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It'll be pretty cool to play Owen in it. It'll be pretty interesting to see how that goes. And then you get a game with CM Punk in it. We haven't seen CM Punk in a game in 8 years. Sting is in the game, which is pretty sweet.
You have Owen Hart face CM Punk.
Yeah, and the thing is, the game's got to be good though, right? You got to have a good engine. You got to have all those things, right? So I understand it as well. Plenty of interesting stuff here. Plenty of interesting stuff in this episode. If you're just joining us late, we cover Becky Lynch. We cover Randy Orton. We covered this new AEW television show and so much more. Here's what I need you to do.
Hey, Randy.
I can see how many of you are watching. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the share. Maybe you can tag some of your buddies in the comments and tell them to watch as well. If you didn't watch the whole thing, you want to listen to it, you got it on the podcast. Every video show we do, we also drop as a podcast as well. Thank you to the fans who've made us number one again this past week, the number one wrestling podcast on the Apple charts. We were in there. We didn't stay in there, but we were in there in the mix in Ireland. Thank you also for putting us in the top 100, top 200 in the United States, Canada, Australia, Germany, India, Pakistan, and many other countries who really appreciate it. For you guys listening on the audio side of things, we're not forgetting you. Give us a review. If you're on one of the podcast apps, give us a review. We really appreciate it. Also, we have some cool stuff coming up on Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda. That is our kind of side YouTube channel that just does countdowns that we're dropping some cool stuff with. Recorded something for that. I know you just dropped one for The Rock celebrating his birthday, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, some highs and lows of his career, kind of similar to one I did with Roman Reigns a couple of months ago. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Go check it out. Get deep into those lists and share them and have a fun time. It's wild when people come up to me like, "I've heard your voice on Snapchat." I'm like, "Yeah, you have."
You probably have. Yes.
Yeah. So whatever video channel you're on, we're on Instagram, we're on Snapchat, we're on all of them. Plug. Of course, I'll be doing some cool stuff later this week. I'll be doing something on a podcast. I can't say what it is until we tape it. But it'll be pretty sweet. And when it comes out, I'll post about it on my machine.
I'm not going to drop anything, but I just want to say that I am really excited to listen to this podcast because it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's going to be out there.
I can say it's outside of the realm of wrestling. I can say it's a pretty prominent show.
Yes, it's
definitely that is outside of the realm of wrestling. I will try and get some wrestling references in if I can.
How you will.
Yeah. Of course you will. Of course.
Will you stop?
Will you stop? All right. Give the boys a follow. JB Huskers on the Twitter machine. I know you got some cool stuff going on there.
Yeah, a fancy giveaway. Go to my Twitter. You might get into Money in the Bank for free.
Money.
And make sure you retweet. Go to the JB Huskers Twitter handle right now. Make sure you guys give me a follow at Jose G Official on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. Got a lot of stuff going on. Got working on a new project, a lot of stuff. So make sure you stay up to date with what I got going on.
Mm-hmm. And as always, as we look to the stars above and ask ourselves, will the heels defeat faces? Will the faces beat up the bad guys? Well,
you can't say baby face and heel in WWE anymore, and you can't say non-title.
Villains. Will the villains and heroes clash in the stars above? Is that a little bit more broad? Is that good
in a castle?
In a castle? Yes, they're going to clash at a castle. Just calm down, everybody, and remember to do this one important thing. Take a deep breath. And what?
You need to enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Where am I?
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!